Well, Fui Sanganga. Is that said correctly?
Man, that's spot on.
Yeah.
Should have given that to him. To show.
I was actually going
I've
to.
seen you practice too, so you
Let
should
me
be
see.
pretty
Fui
good.
Sagaga.
Let me see if I've got your name.
Fui Sanganga.
I'll just give me a second because I think this is worth if I try.
Oh, what's your full name?
Good question. It's never really simple, is it?
No.
Right.
Yeah, it's never really simple. I've seen.
Right. Fui Sagaga.
Sure.
That's it. What did
That's
you
cool.
say?
Sanganga.
Sananga.
Yeah.
Where's the N in that?
Man, it's the pronunciation. It's kind of like a N, like almost like a nana.
Yeah.
Nana.
Yeah.
Because there's
Sanganga.
only 16 letters in the Samoan alphabet.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
A, E, I, O, U, Whangang, La, Mono, Pi, Sa, TV.
Wow.
Hey.
Good as that.
Parents would be proud.
Man, honestly, that is something to be proud of. The kids grow up having to learn that. So,
Where did you go to school?
I went to De La Salle College
In
Auckland.
Mangere, Auckland.
so at school,
Yes,
did the teachers get your name right when they were calling it out, or were they like Fui Sagaga?
yes. But it wasn't just that because my name was always my full name. It was different. So to answer Marshall's question, it's Fui Fatu Sanganga. Yeah.
Oh, Islander names are so
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. Fatu's not like the Māori Fatu, WHATU.
No,
It's the
F-A-T.
FATU.
That's what I would have thought.
People spell it that way too, so it depends where you come from.
So how many in the siblings? Where are you?
There's
in
5 of us. I'm in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, 2 older sisters, a younger sister and a younger brother. So I'm right in the middle.
So did that mean you avoided all the hidings, or
Man, I don't know about this whole middle child syndrome thing. I've never looked at it. I don't know what it's about. I haven't seen myself in that. So if you said if I avoided hidings, I taught myself, how not to, how not to get in the firing line. So yeah. But I think that was every kid.
yeah,
Growing up. So no, I don't know too much about this whole middle child.
You were the oldest boy,
Yes.
so there's responsibilities on.
Oh man, yes. So you guys are familiar, more familiar now with Samoan culture, and how it's built on respect and pride, and a lot of the things that come through is also not just position but also responsibility. So you could be a young boy and still have responsibility. You could be, it doesn't really matter. There comes an age where you have to step forward and it's recognized. But as you're growing up, you're being primed and ready for that kind of responsibility.
Were you a bit younger than most because you were the first boy?
Bit younger than most.
Like having to get responsibility, hold responsibility, and
Yeah. It's strange a bit in my family dynamic. My mum, we got to a particular point where my mother actually shielded us from a lot of the Samoan culture.
oh wow,
And a lot of that, Marshall would understand. She almost tried to separate religion from culture, which Islanders don't do too well in.
yeah, wow.
So you're being Samoan, you're brought up in the church,
Yes.
traditional whakasa, like yep.
So Presbyterian Church was the Pacific Islanders Presbyterian, which is, I think I've heard a couple of people speak already. It's a congregation of Islander church, cultures that come under the Presbyterian.
Hey, did you meet in Mangere or in?
No.
Cairo?
We were born and raised in Otara.
Oh, okay,
So Tara, South Auckland.
okay.
So Mangere was a bit off just for schooling, just for
Right.
school. But we were always south.
So what was the PIC down there?
Otara.
Otara PIC. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Pacific Island Church.
Yeah, it's PIPSC, which is Presbyterians on. Pacific Islanders Presbyterian Church. Just Presbyterian.
PIPC.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
PIC, PIPC.
I'm in. I got it now.
So how long were you every Sunday for how long? For how many years?
Oh, I would say for about 14.
Right.
14
And it was a part of your culture, right? So was God, Jesus, Holy Spirit close to you? And that were you aware of that, or is it no? We just turn up to
No. At that particular time, you do what you're told.
right.
You know, everything is it's laid out. You do stuff, but you're never taught as to why.
Right.
You know? I can look back at it now and I can see bits and pieces of God.
Yep.
But at that time, this is what we did. We turned up.
Did you have fear and trembling with White Sunday?
Bro, it was more than one Sunday. Yeah, we used to have church exams. Yeah, church exams, and that was crazy. I reckon that was crazier than White Sunday.
And
you guys
so-
would have heard the crazy of the White Sunday.
But for people that don't know White Sunday,
Yeah.
what's White Sunday?
White Sunday is like celebration for kids. It's all about the kids. It's supposed to be all about the kids.
It's all about your family's performance.
Yes, it's all a reflection of your family's status.
Yeah, so
That's what it was.
the kids are representing the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parents are, when you look back at it now, it's parents vicariously,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
performing through the kids.
and the exams are A, B, C, D, E, fussy. If you get an F,
Yeah.
F stands for fussy.
Fussy, and that's not good.
It's not good in any way. An F in this culture.
It's not a letter on a page for fail.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
a
get
hot,
home.
It's a hot hand and a hot bum.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
okay.
Yeah, actually, some memories, man. Man, it was, I kid you not, that a lot of that would have shaped a lot of my learning and a lot of everything. To be honest, that those Sunday school exams, yeah. What made it even worse is that my mum was so eager that she put me up a year. So then I had to compete against kids who were a year older, who didn't even like the fact that I was in their class.
Wow.
And because my mum was so structured and so there's a Samoan word called sawa, strict. I did very, very well. And I in my 4 or 5 years of exams, I was first majority of the time.
Wow.
Within second.
Wow.
So a lot of that shaped how I learned, and
So did you like it then, or
did I like it?
yeah?
No.
But what about the kids that aren't doing good?
Yeah, that
and
100%.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was it. That was that. I believe that had to be the idea, almost a separation of status within church. How much money you would give, status. Where you sat. Oh, this family's doing good. Or let's say in our case, it was learning. The parents must be so good. They, this family is so bright, which is true, but.
So even with that status of like you doing good,
Yeah.
you still didn't enjoy any of it as the kid. You're like,
No, because there were bits and pieces within that that didn't sit well.
So is that where the whole sort of like validation, approval sort of comes from, and that creates a pretty narrow perfectionist mindset?
Oh, big time.
Right.
Big time. And to give you an example, just to elaborate on that, 98%, 99% was never good enough.
What the
100% was good enough. Yeah. I would get 100 one year. The next year I would get 99 and my sister would get 100. And it felt like the way it sat in my family was like 99 felt like you scored 85. And there was that. I'll tell you something crazy.
What's wrong with 85?
that's why I wasn't born into a Samoan family. 25.
Oh, it's just my mum knew how to turn 25 into 100. Trust me.
So she was
better.
in a sense, she was a great teacher.
Man, my mum was one of the wisest and she was awesome.
Yeah.
But as you come to know that those people are generally the ones that also, wound you in ways and stuff like that. So she had no regret. My mum was smart and she was wise, and her place and let's say in her family and everything, you could see it.
And let's say her diligence in parenting you in the ways of the Lord is displayed in your kids' marks of knowing the word.
That's it. Yeah.
So, you know, as noble as that is, how do you deal with the not so the outcomes of those sort of pressures and
man.
stress, you know?
It's crazy.
So what happened when you were 14? Like, sort of when you, like it changed, you said.
Well, my mum decided that she wanted to leave the Presbyterian Church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm sure it was around that age.
Why? What happened?
No, her faith changed. Her and my auntie, and then they decided to go to. Sorry, my auntie, who was like one of my mums, she went to a Christian church, a Pentecostal church.
Wow.
And because my mum was so close with her, and another one of her sisters, they spoke, and then they decided that we were going to leave the Presbyterian church.
Wow.
So you and all your siblings?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Or just no choice. So, so me, all of us.
That's amazing. And she would have
Yes
been
and no.
she would have been sort of ostracized from the family?
Yes, because my dad didn't agree with it.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I think my dad partially would not attend the Pentecostal church at that particular time,
Right.
if I remember correctly.
And then but he would go to the POC. or-
Yeah. Well, he always considered himself, that traditional.
Yeah, okay.
He grew up Methodist,
Yeah.
and stuff. So, yeah, that was very blurry, that transition from the Presbyterian church to the Pentecostal.
How was it for you? Like what happened?
Man, it was warped, man. It's different. The Presbyterian church was strict, but still a lot of room to just be you. The Christian church, the Pentecostal church, man, they came with the 300 and 500 rules. you
Wow.
know, and it was heavy what you could do, what you couldn't do.
Oh,
It was
wow.
almost so crazy that you had to even check the air that you breathe. That's the kind of feeling that I had growing
Right.
up. Everything, check everything. How do you dress? Yeah, how do you speak? Your posture, everything like that.
The dress code and that was more than the P.
Perceived.
Yeah. Yes, it was. So even though at Presbyterian church you dressed okay, at the other church it was such a mixture of the Samoan culture that it looked like it
Right.
overtook the
Usurped
church itself.
usurped the an imprint on it
Yeah.
at another level.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So performance became different.
Man. Yeah. Everything was very,
Wow.
very
So you sort of go from one view of God,
yeah.
strict, like you've got to get it perfect,
This.
100%, otherwise what's the point,
Yeah.
to something even more heavy. You felt it more heavier.
Yeah. Well, there was that all or nothing kind of feel.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did that go for you? Like,
Man, those are my weird years because I was growing, and two, just things in me just didn't match up.
so what was God to you at this point?
God wasn't somebody that I studied. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So my mom was very good in regards to teaching us, if you want to learn about something, develop everything
Study
around
it.
study it, research it, know quite a bit about it.
So a sense of relationship,
No.
it wasn't there. It was study an object to get to know it
Yeah.
better.
Know it, perfect it, speak it,
Wow.
It's-
Yeah, and the actual relationship there wasn't an
No.
example of that at home. There wasn't.
Well, yes and no. When I look back at it now, I can see,
Right.
But at that particular time, everything was so dictated,
Yeah. Okay.
This is what you believe. This is why you do this. No, sorry. This is not why you do it. This is what you're doing. This is why we're praying. We're praying in the morning. We're praying at night. We're
Right.
doing this. We're doing that. It was that. It was never an invitation. Hey, man, do you want to sit down and have coffee with this God? It was never anything like that. That was never a concept for me growing up.
So was there ever I'm curious because my parenting now,
Yeah.
I think, so was there were you told, hey, you can pray to God, he'll talk to you, you can spend time with him, ask him, like if you were ever inquisitive, hey, talk to God, pray to God. Were you ever told that or no?
No, I was taught how to pray though. So if you go into most Samoan families, and they generally do the Samoan local, they break it up into three. The first thing would be thanksgiving. The second thing would be forgiveness. And the third thing would be more like help.
Petition.
Yeah. Those are the three general formats, and they would just speak on, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord.
And yeah, there was never the idea put forward that, hey, in your own time, you can talk to God.
No. I studied God.
Yeah, wow.
And I studied books of the Bible, and I learned a lot. But no.
So, in a sense, behavior management, was that like keeping up appearances?
Yeah.
Right.
Status is a big thing when it comes to islanders. So it almost felt like you're an islander and the community islanders, but you need to stand out. You know? So even though I was in Samoa, just a regular guy, born and raised in Otara, South Auckland, there seemed to be a sense of pressure to be above that.
Right. Wow.
Like how I speak, the pronunciation of words and stuff. In Samoan language, you have to pronounce T's don't always get pronounced as T's. There's always that K factor, you know. So my mum was very, very proper.
Because you have high Samoan.
That's it. It's almost like layman,
Yeah.
you know, status.
Aussie language, and then there's sort of proper.
I was just trying to, when you said there's no T's, like a K?
Pronunciation,
K,
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
K, so I'm like, and I just I started hearing the words I've heard people say over the years, and some things just connected.
Like Tavika is Tavita.
Yeah, but even in English, so in English, can you give me some English examples?
Like what?
Like English words they'd use that they'd say incorrectly.
Oh,
Or not so much.
It's just proper English. So let's say, like Marsh said, it's like English to slang. It's proper
Like,
English.
g'day, mate. Or
Yeah,
hello,
but
how are you?
say some like Samoan English words that are full like Samoan.
Samoan English words.
No, you know, like a full Samoan speaking English. You know how sometimes the pronunciations are.
Samoans.
Oh, like what's the one for the
Yeah, you know what
for
I'm talking about.
go to the church and
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly
Or
that.
you would hear somebody say, please come to the forward.
Yes.
You know?
But when you said the T replaced the K, I'm like, oh, thank you.
oh,
But that's flipping it into English.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
No. It's the there's two ways to talk in Samoan. There's the Matai, which is, you know, it's proper orator type of, you know, talking. It's almost poetry. But then you have the general talk.
Yeah.
But then you have general talk, and then you have layman.
Slang of the, okay.
Low level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bogan.
But it's not, yep.
Yeah,
But it's not even just language. You can see it in status.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And so there was like an expectation, a perceived
man.
expectation that you were to be above.
it felt like that.
Yeah, wow.
It felt like that. Yeah.
So what happened? So
precious.
14, the church changed church.
Yes.
And then from like 14 to being an adult, well, were you in and out of church, or you sort of?
Oh man, I was rebellious in a weird sense, man. If we had a group, let's say at this Pentecostal church, Dominion Road in Roskilde. I just always pushed the limits and everything. It's just, why does it have to be extreme? Why do you have to go to why can't we go to the movies? It was like that. It was like, you can't go to the movies. Let's go to the movies. You know? It was almost as if the air and the aircon was something, you know, bad or crazy. It was.
So it even became more rules.
Man, there were so many rules. When I look back, I just didn't want to be in that box. So it came out in some different ways, you know. Rebellious. I started to slack off quite a bit at school because I just, you know, everything was just so rigid.
Was your mum freaking out?
I think there was a sense, let's say with me, there's a sense of denial, you know, like you put things on autopilot. He's good. I've
Right.
raised him. He's good.
Right.
He's good. But there was nothing concern like, where is he actually? You know, he's going to school. He's doing this. He's doing his grades. I'm doing my best. Therefore, he should be doing his. It's tiring after a while, man. With that generation.
Was there a moment when, you know, God got out of the box for you?
Yeah,
When,
a lot later.
a lot later.
I would say about 18. 18, they got crazy.
Or 18 years old.
Yeah, it had to be 18, turning 19, I think it was.
Tell us about that. Like, when did God go from something you studied and examined to wow, God's real in here? Tell us about that journey.
I think that more that epiphany would have come when I was 26.
Oh, wow.
But my first encounter of like the big pause moment would have come when I was 19,
Right.
18, 19. I was rebellious, man. And I knew at the time that I had a lot of influence. Just everyone that I hung around with, I could manipulate. I was young, but I used to hang out with guys who were like 6, maybe 7 years older. And it didn't matter what room I went into, they always seemed to gravitate towards me. And then I just learned how to work the room in the sense, we're going out to drink, and we're not going to eat until we get wasted. You know, I had that kind of weird as pull, you know, and I recognized that growing up that I had that kind of influence. I just didn't realize that there was a flip side to using that kind of a gift.
Right.
When I say rebellious, man, I used to drink quite a bit during my course or what I was studying. Lunchtime, I would take a whole bunch of guys in and we'll go around, and then instead of have lunch, we'd have drinks. You know, well, not this one particular day, and this is crazy, is that we started drinking on this one particular day, and then something happened, and they told jokes about, oh man, can you imagine drinking in a cemetery? And because I was always outside of, you know, stuff this, you know, don't worry about it, let's go. So we drank, and then we went into a cemetery, and then I drank, and then they looked a bit fearful, and then my nose started to bleed.
Wow.
And then it didn't stop. Yeah. And then it didn't stop. And then I was able to, you know, get a stop just for a little bit. And then it just got crazy and just got out of hand. And then I started spewing out a bit more blood.
What?
And then fear started to kick in. And then my friends were worried about me, and then they wanted to take me to the doctors. And I said no, because then my mom and dad would have found out, you know.
Yeah.
You know? And my mum's a nurse too, so a lot of my family work on that side of the hospitals. And anyway, my nose bled, and then I tried to go to a GP, and then they were a bit worried. And then I tried to go to someone else outside of the Western, you know, more like an Asian type of medical center. But then it became too crazy. My nose started bleeding some more. And then they took me to the hospital. It just got too crazy. My friends just said, hey, I can't do anything. We've got to take you to the doctors. To the hospital. So we went to Middlemore. Went into the emergency room. And then I sat there, and then they waited to come across and see me. But in that time, I couldn't hold, you know, because I swallowed blood. I wasn't just spitting it out and just bleeding it out. I went into the toilet, and then I kid you not, I pasted the whole room with spew, blood.
Wow.
But it wasn't red, it was brown.
Wow.
It was brown. So I painted all of that, and I couldn't I couldn't hold it, and it's not like I wanted to put it into just a toilet bowl. And it was that crazy and bad that they pushed me forward, and then they went into that room, and then you could see the size. They closed the room and probably brought in some, I don't know, dudes with all masks and everything. And,
Wow.
And just to clean the room, because I covered it quite a bit. So not just the, you know, bathrooms and the whole room was, I spewed all over the whole room.
Wow.
And, anyway, they admitted me, and they put me into, you know, ICU. And that was it.
How do they stop the bleeding?
Yeah, good question. There's a thing called a balloon. Like they put it down your throat. Oh, sorry, your nose, and then put it down, and then they just blow it up. And then it just puffs up, and then it just stops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
What did they say it was from?
good. So what happens is that they ended up doing a couple of tests. Then they took some blood out of my bone the next day, and then they told me that it was leukemia. So I had leukemia when I was 19.
The heck?
Yeah, but that was one of the first big pause moments that God just got my attention. That fear had stopped me, and that everything else that I built reputation, or that kind of influence, and what I had stopped. It just stopped because everything had stopped for me. I couldn't go anywhere after that. So,
How long were you in hospital for?
oh man, probably on and off for about 2 years. But in that particular, from the beginning, I was in there for about, I think about almost 2 months. The first month, I think they had a nurse come in. She said, because they could tell that I was depressed, said that if I don't get up and start walking, then I'll lose the use of my legs because I was that depressed. Just, yeah.
Your whole world had stopped. What were you studying at the time?
Business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I was studying it, but
Oh, yeah.
I was attending.
Was that AUT or something?
No, it was a independent type of place.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that stopped. So your friends stopped going out on Friday night, stopped.
everything stopped for a bit.
19.
Yeah, and then I kind of blocked everyone out.
Isn't it unusual for that age to get leukemia? I thought it was more of a younger person.
No, yes and no.
Wow.
So because of 18 turning 19, I was supposed to go to the kids hospital,
Right.
but I wasn't small when I was 18. So I was. They could, they asked me, and then they put me up into the adult. So I was the youngest there.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ignorant with it, but
Yeah, same. So what did they do to treat it?
Yeah, this is even funnier. They have different types. So they have chemo. They had it was strange. I had no idea what treatment looked like. So I had a nurse come in one morning and goes, "We're going to prep you up and get you ready for chemo." And I have no idea. I'm just thinking like lasers and going into some kind of a tunnel, and then they can zap me. So I turn around and I say to the nurse, "Hey man, is it cool? Do you want me to take my earrings off? Because I'm scared that
Right.
Yeah." He just laughs and he goes, "Nah, man, it's just an injection and stuff like that." So
wow.
yeah, but yeah, they gave me some in that course. They gave me some trial stuff, which was weird. Arsenic.
what?
Yeah, arsenic was part of that and something else. And
So what?
Jeez.
Okay, that's a pretty big pause interruption.
oh yes, definitely.
Did you cry out to God, or were you?
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a night there when I had this crazy ass dream, and the dream was that bad. I remember just looking out the window and saying, "Man, if you save me, the rest of my life is going to be yours." And we've heard this kind of, this desperate cry. We've heard this cry, yeah?
It's a dangerous prayer, man.
It is.
Right.
It really,
That
really
once or
is.
twice myself. Maybe 3 times.
Yeah. So I think that one there was one of the first times I actually genuinely just, man, I'm scared. Like I'm really, really scared.
Because were they saying to you, hey, you might only have a little bit of time, or were they saying?
No, it was weird, man. It's like they would come across with a diagnosis, and they would say if there was any kind of leukemia to get, this is the one that you wanted.
Wow. Okay.
It's encouraging.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes. Yeah. But I think it gets to a point where they start talking it and it just blurs.
Yeah.
And then you just become all about you. What am I going to do next?
Man.
Like how am I going to live? How am I going to appear? How am I going to, can I go back to what I was doing?
So you call out to God. If I survive this, if I live, I'll serve you.
Oh man, I said that's all yours after that.
So when did that become a reality then?
When did that?
Yeah.
Well, that's where 26 comes in.
It's
So
all-
that's 7 years later.
it's always the
Perfect.
way,
Yeah, 7 years later, perfect number.
Far out.
It is crazy.
He's
but
patient, yeah.
Yes, 27.
And so what happened at that age then? So you've been through this, you've studied, working. Has your life changed?
It had changed at
Okay.
that time. I left New Zealand because I told everyone that I needed to grow up. But I was scared because I didn't want to go back into remission. I was in remission and then I relapsed. So I didn't want to be around
When did you relapse?
medication. I think probably about 6 months, 8 months later.
Oh, wow.
So once I got discharged, then I relapsed. So what they normally say is a remission period is about 5 years. After 5 years, then you're generally pretty good.
Right,
But then you got to go in for tests, etc.
right.
And I didn't want to do that, so I left the country.
Wow.
And my doctors and them were not happy, but I just didn't care.
Is this little rebellious
Yes. Yeah. So I jumped
little
the country.
theme?
Yeah. So I jumped ship, and that's how I ended up in Australia.
Come on.
I ran away from a lot. And at the same time, I saw what was happening back there, and the story would have been same old, same old. I could just see the pattern of my friends just continue doing the same thing, no one growing up. And I knew enough to know that I had to do something different. I had to do something different.
So even though they were older than you, so you saw your future.
Yeah.
So you're like, I want out.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily rebellious in that regard. It's like a fresh start.
Yeah. I think the rebellion was more the doctors.
Yeah.
And then you should
Yeah.
stay here. She's like, yeah, okay. So yeah, I took off and ended
Wow.
up in Australia.
Whereabouts in Australia?
Man, of all places, I needed to run away from Islanders. I ended up in Mount Druitt.
In Mount Druitt.
Right. I ended up in Mount Druitt, of all places. My cousins lived in Mount Druitt. You know what was even crazy is that it took me a while to talk to Islanders who had an accent,
Wow.
Australian accent of all things. It drove me that nuts that I'll turn around and I'll say to them, all right, man, we can stop pretending now. Let's talk normal. And that was normal for them.
Wow.
And I just couldn't adjust. I couldn't adjust, man. It took me a long time to adjust.
Jeez, in Mount Druitt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so were you starting to repeat the same behaviors?
Yes. Yes.
So it wasn't
yeah.
about your friends and environment. It was actually,
Yeah. It was weird because I went from being the youngest in most of my groups to being in this group where I had to be the eldest. Like everyone was young, everyone was lost, in the sense where no one had a compass. My older cousins had no compass. It was drink and then apologize the next day.
wow, what the heck? So you're still back in that thing?
Man, it was worse. Yeah.
Wow.
It was worse because I started getting depressed again, and then when I would sleep and then I would wake up in the middle of the night and then I'll be depressed because I was in Australia and I wasn't home. Yeah. So I had that.
So, okay, you've had a promise, you made a vow to the Lord, a promise to God. If you save me, I'm yours. He saves you, you're still going back into the cycle.
Yeah.
What happens 26, 27?
Man, I two things. The person that I was with, Jules.
Yeah.
I get invited to some kind of church. Yeah. We rock up to this particular.
So you went, sorry, so you
No, I
went,
wasn't going to church at all.
okay,
Wasn't going to church at all.
yeah,
I just remember the story now. There's two incidents that brought me to church. One was an invitation. I don't know how the invitation came about, but I'm in this particular church. The guy is preaching, and then two seats behind me, an old man gives way and he starts having a heart attack. Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and no one's doing anything. Everyone else is just freaking out. I don't know what happened, but I remember just standing up, reaching over. I don't know how I lift this guy up from the second seat. I pick him up and I take him to the side, and then I lay him down. And then the first aid person comes across and checks if he's breathing, and then the ambulance are on their way. And then I take Jules and I said, let's get out of here. So we get out of here. And that's my first.
So
in
you
the church.
didn't even see the end of the service or anything?
I didn't remember the service.
Right.
All I remember is that this guy and he needed out and no one was doing anything. The second thing is that
Wow.
I have
Picked him up.
I don't know how, man. Honestly, I don't know how. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the people that I become good friends with say that when they saw that, they freaked out. So I don't know how. The second time I go to church, there's a good friend of mine that I become good friends with, and he's well known in the bikie range. He's half Kas, half Samoan, but he has a reputation, and he has connections, and he's got money and everything. But for some reason, he tells me I'm his best friend. So we developed this kind of friendship. We become close, and then he tells me one day that he's searching. So he says, "Man, maybe I want to go to church." So that point of reference, that first point of reference is, okay, listen, you know what? I heard this group does connect groups. Let's go there. But I'm going there because I want to make sure that no one Bible bashes him or no one does anything.
No one has a heart attack.
Yeah. So I go there to protect him because he's my good friend, and I don't want these guys coming across and
Yeah.
So you've still got, in a sense, a pre-mindset of rules, regulations, strictness. I don't want my friend to experience. So in some way, you innately think God's not like that.
Yeah.
So you don't want your friend to experience.
That's always been there. That's always been there. That little trickle of
How crazy.
relationship has always been there. Which I've always been safe, and people have always seen me as safe.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we decide to go to this connect group. So we go, we sit down, and then I'm so used to being in groups, you can almost categorize people.
Yeah.
Here's the guy who knows all about the Bible. Here's the guy who's got the old school haircut. Here's the football players, and then the 3/4 of them are here because of the football players. You can see that in groups. Oh, you're raised up with me. You can see it.
Yeah.
And then everyone's talking, and my good friend is over here, and then they open up the floor. And this guy doesn't talk. He stutters. He is not that kind of a talker at all.
Wow.
He decides to step forward. So prior to that, I say to God, if you're going to show me anything different, show me tonight. And if you show me tonight...
Those prayers are dangerous too, man.
Right.
Yeah. And if you show me tonight, and then I'll follow.
And the guy's like, let just me rewind to...
No, he just goes, promise 2, coming up, good. We're due for a 3rd, and then we should be right.
Yeah. Oh, man, it honestly felt like that.
Wow. So you consciously said that?
Yeah. I just know. I
just
have
know.
those conversations with somebody. Doesn't mean I know them.
Yeah.
But I have those conversations. And lo and behold, he just puts forward and he starts talking. Freaks me out. So one, I automatically think, God, you got my attention. And then he starts talking. And then he starts speaking. And then...
Who, this friend of yours?
Yeah. This good friend who handles guns, handles money, handles everything. All that craziness and stuff. And then he starts talking. And he starts talking about losing his brother, the pain that he's feeling. He starts talking about me. He's fully... not once has he ever asked me about what I do. He's just my friend. He's like my brother. And then he turns around and says he's my best friend. And then I turn around to God and says, man, okay, you got me. And then he starts sharing. And it's from that particular day. And I said to God, where to next? And then that was it.
Wow.
That's where my relationship began. Where to next? Let's go to retreat. Baptism. All these things. What's next? What's next? It was that particular day. That was it. There was a line in the... That was it.
Wow.
And then, then I gave my life to God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that was it. That 2006 was the day I became a Christian. And then I came home in a sense.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a pretty full or delay.
Oh,
like
man.
From your upbringing.
Yeah.
Strict in the word. Couple of pretty incredible encounters of God's saving grace.
Man.
But then you yield to it. So what started changing in your life when you said, okay, Lord, you got my attention, I'm pursuing you?
Yeah.
What sort of behaviours changed?
A lot changed, I think.
Right.
Yeah. I think the focus point and everything changed.
Right.
man, things just became clearer. Things that I thought about and things that I read about were coming to life. you know?
Right. So
Started
it
to
wasn't
become real.
wasted. All
No.
that
This
foundation.
is what I'm saying. If I look back
Yeah.
and I can see my mum's motive was always for me to know who God was.
Right.
It just was delivered, in a different way.
Yeah.
My mum's motive for her kids and us in general to know God wasn't. I didn't doubt that. It just was. It just was laid out in a
that's
crazy way.
Yeah,
man.
that's full on, eh?
So because in my craziness, I used to come home and I used to see my mum pray.
Wow.
Or my mum talking to invisible people.
Yeah, and that's what would have spoke to you louder than anything else. And for you to know and be like, man, I'll go with him to this mate because I don't want him to get Bible bashed. Because when you said that, I'm like, man, it doesn't make sense. But that,
Oh man, approaches from people at church can be crazy. And
but it's all good motive, like your mum had, right? It's all
that's right,
and it's
delivered
just
on.
delivered terribly.
Yeah, and it happened to us. And I remember thinking at that time when I was young, it said it's not the motive; it's actually just the deliverance, delivery of the actual message, and hello and stuff. That was the breakdown. And I always remember thinking, all right, if they could work on that, then and be a bit more inviting in a real way, people would open up.
Yeah, that would have.
And it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah. Wow.
But
27, 26, 27, something like that.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah. Crazy years, man. And it's a lot of it, everything. It's I'm 44. So 27.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would say the clarity in my walk has only come in the last 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, man. Last 3.
So in a sense, you were, you surrendered your heart to the Lord.
Yeah.
But it was still religious in that regard.
Yes.
Just trying to.
Yeah. So I remember before we left Penrith, or talking to, let's say, some of my good friends, I remember telling them, man, why is it so hard to be a Christian? This life is so hard.
Yeah.
I remember asking them those questions. And this time I was involved in ministry and a lot of things were happening. And I loved God and I loved my family. But the sense of duty was heavy. It's like my list became 20 things. You're always doing stuff. And I remember when I asked that question to God, this is too hard. Can you show me something different? Then my list every year turned from, can you turn 10 things into 20 things into 15, 15 into 10, and then 10 into 5. And then the next year he goes, I don't want you to do any ministry. And that freaked me out because my whole life has been a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Give me something, I can do that. And I was, at that time, they were grooming me for leadership. And I remember that dynamic there was leave that to be a father and a husband. That freaked me out more than that.
Right.
I was more scared to be a husband than a father.
Yeah.
So if you look at, they say the journey in general, and I shared this yesterday, was I became familiar with who Jesus was, understood bits and pieces about Holy Spirit, but it was the father dynamic that had messed me up quite a bit. And because I was such a perfectionist and everything, I could never go to a father, the way I was, because I was never good enough.
Right.
And that was enough for me, not just to reject myself, but to reject God. I reject you before you even come close. My wife, Jules, even to this day, I would only let her come as close as I allowed her to be. She never got to really see the real, me, because I was too scared that if you saw it, that you'd be disappointed. I passed up on, let's say, promotions and everything because I was too scared. The crux of it was that I was too scared to be rejected. Leadership roles and everything. I look back at it now in hindsight and I just see what was it that I was actually missing. And I look back at it now and I think what I was missing was the validation of a father.
Far out.
Yeah. So I see that if fathering and parenting is done right, then there's particular questions that you ask when you're young,
Right.
you know. And one of those questions that a son asks of a father is, am I good enough? You know? Dad, check this out. Dad, check this out. Dad, check this out.
Yeah.
Dad, look at that. You know?
Watch me. Watch this. Watch this.
And that when you were a kid, you get that sense of real quick, after a couple of dismissals, whether you're an interruption or if it's an invitation.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, and if it becomes an interruption, then you spiral down a path like mine, or like most people, fathers. So if that question is not answered here, then you go about trying to build it to get validation.
Yeah.
And my life has always been about build. Look, see, but don't come too close. You know.
I like the analogy you had about you're in a city and people have to find you.
Man,
You know,
I would make it that hard.
Yeah.
I would make it that hard. But I remember.
You create a maze for people to try and find you, connect.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good analogy.
You can come close, but I can put you down the path that you would have to track in order to come back and find me.
Remember that game with the metal ball and you have to get it from, turn two trays?
Yeah. Oh, man.
And you have to try and get to the 100?
Yeah.
100? Yeah. We can be like that with people trying to get close to us. They have to, you know.
Get through the maze.
Yeah.
Get through the obstacles.
And people will give up because, I just want to be your friend, but you just...
Yeah. To a degree, like I can bring you in that close, but not close enough.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where real questions, real answers, real community, which is a different kind of approach we have now.
What was it? Was it recently that it clicked? What was it? What was it that happened?
There's a whole bunch. So let's say when I spoke about the wars in the city, I've always quoted that scripture in regards to strongholds.
Yeah.
You know, demolish all arguments, every false pretension that said suffer against the knowledge of God. You know, strongholds. And I've looked at what a stronghold looks like, and they can be massive. They can be big. But when I had this incident in my particular life where it challenged, let's say, my belief or my everything that I had, you know, or half truths and everything, God just ran through that whole city. And when I tell you the truth, that it wasn't like a 2-second or a 30-second video.
Yeah.
Man, it went on for ages, just, you know.
Wow.
And when he got to that point, it's like I could see it and I couldn't do anything about it. He was coming, you know.
Was this in a moment of
Yep.
like with someone sitting through some?
No, this was in the moment at church over at the old, not the old school, at the community centre.
Oh wow!
And I remember that particular day, and he just went through, and it didn't matter how many walls I was trying to build at the same time while he was trying to bust down. He just went through it all. And then when he came right closer, you know, just a little bit behind where your mic is, and then he saw a kid, and then he said, "There you are."
Man,
and then I freaked out. I really freaked out because I was vulnerable. People could see me. He could see me. Of all people, he could see me.
This is happening during a service.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So the catalyst and everything was, let's say, my marriage. You know, there is a separation. I've been separated now for about 2-ish years, but it just revealed what was there. You know, which is why I look at that and in hindsight, I can see the good that came out of it. Because I went to that marriage with all of this, 19, 26, younger, all of that stuff, all the way back to the point where I had lost faith in my mum and my dad, that they could father me, they could parent me. And then I started building these particular walls. So to answer your question, a lot of that came across and it debunked everything that I had built. And when God had smashed all those cities, I couldn't stand on anything else. My reputation and everything, it just felt like I was exposed. I felt like I had no clothes on. I felt like people could see me. And everything that I built, it couldn't protect me anymore. So then I went on that search to, all right, where to next?
That vulnerability, was there sort of an assurance though that it's okay?
Yeah.
Right.
It became, let's say in the last 2
Was
years.
it a bit of a release for you, like finally?
For that to happen?
Yeah.
No, it was and it wasn't.
Right.
Because I didn't know who I was.
Yeah,
so
okay.
You have to remember, and I built so much, and I built those walls up, and I didn't even know who I was. I knew a lot, but I never experienced. You know,
Right.
Oh man.
it's different. And like I said, the father factor was always massive, and the rejection that had happened there. I realized to cut a lot of things short is rejection is an absence of love.
Yeah.
And I've learned that perfect love casts out fear. I've never had perfect love coming to me, you know.
But
So- that day, or even more so recent,
Right.
let's say understanding, you know, did I reject? Yeah, I rejected myself. Yeah, I rejected other people. Other people I felt have rejected me. But what I was really after, or what I didn't realize was, I had rejected God,
Wow.
the Father that I've always wanted. You know.
Wow.
And my prayer has always been, Father me.
Yeah, and then he comes and he's like, there you are.
That's it.
And he's all good as well.
Man, he was always good.
Oh man.
And then people run. People don't realize that they run and they think they run away from him. He's right there. You know, run around, turn around. Here he is. Right there. I'm in Australia. Oh, shit, he's here.
Run for 50 years.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I'm still
I'm
there.
done. And he's like, hey man, good to see you.
But that was
Oh,
that
bro.
part there. And I've always asked, and I've always realized that one, I just needed the Father.
Man.
And when that epiphany had happened, everything else, I understood everything else. You know, everything else, status and everything through. I was happy to be just me. You know, and I and this is something that's crazy is that I've been introduced as a lot of things. Oh, hey, go to Fui, go to this. But recently we had a bunch of people come across from New Zealand, and we sat down in a particular circle. It was just 3 of us, and she heard me talk, and she must have thought that I was some kind of part of ministry or something. Then she asked, so what do you do in church? And I didn't even know how to answer that. And then he also turns around and he says, he's a good dad.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Right. And at first I thought, no. And then it just hit me. Man, I'm a good dad.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
You know?
That's it. You are.
But the cool thing is, if I'm a good dad, then I've learned to be fathered.
Yeah.
You know? And if I've learned to be fathered, that means I'm becoming the son that I've always wanted to be. And then I felt like that was enough. So then you have a look at it. You think about, let's say, the end of your time. Then you think about that little gap between 1979 and whenever you go home. But then you also see that little piece of the part, that says, what are you going to write down?
Yeah.
How would you like to be remembered? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
But now I understand. So because of that, I actually understand everything that he placed in me in regards to, let's say, the people he surrounded me by, all the kids that have always come around me and stuff. It's a return to the Father's heart. I know why I'm here, I know what I'm supposed to do, and it's always shown itself in different pieces and bits and pieces. But I actually know now, And that, to me, was the biggest factor in my whole Christian walk, was to know about a Father, but to actually have a Father.
So good.
So, yeah. And that's, a lot of things that led to that were crazy. My renewed faith in the church, going from it being an organization and, just a place where everyone goes and everything.
Yeah.
But to seeing people, like I see people, I see God residing in imperfect people. That's the church.
Awesome.
It didn't matter if I rejected God.
Yeah.
He would surround me with good people who were saying the same thing until I got my attention. And all these good people were saying the same thing. Go to God.
and
Come closer.
all all your experience is never wasted. It's all used.
Yeah, 100%.
And I love that realization is beautiful. It's quite like it's really moving.
Yeah.
And it's, I say this a lot, like, oh man, it's just begun. It's just beginning for you. But what did Jesus say? He's like, man, I'll build my church on that.
Yeah.
And what was the statement? At the end of the day, it was that God is the Father, and He's like, I can, on knowing that, the conviction of that, I'll build my church. And just you were sharing, I'm like, man, because you are a good father, you are a good man, but God's like, what I'll build now, on you have no idea, man. Because you are, I believe that. You're an awesome man. Yeah. You're faithful and you're diligent and you're a strong, wise dude in our community. So I'm so encouraged by your story and your understanding of what God has brought you through is really, really powerful.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing, man.
Yeah. Any last words for podcast?
Yeah, you know what everything comes down to that intimacy moment. I think you can exist. I think God has created a lane for us to move in amongst the chaos of life.
Amen.
But I think that rhythm and that heartbeat and that pause and the salah is the key. If you have a relationship with God, kind of like the burning bush. The burning bush was there, but it was until Moses moved towards it that God decided to engage. I think we all have that moment. For me, it's coffee with God. For you, may be different, whatever your intimacy is. But I think it's out of that place and that you find your rhythm that you can not exist, but you can influence a world that's already in chaos. I think the relationship is the key. Your father wants his kids home. Wants his kids home. But it's not going to come from a front line of soldiers. It's going to come from you being you.
Yeah.
Your relationship with God.
Yeah, hard.
So I think everything else is truly as it says it is. You add everything else. But it has to come from this father and son operation. Walking with them, working with them, watching how he does things. I think that is the ultimate key. The relationship.
It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.